Welcome to the dental startup journey. If you are a dentist looking to launch or grow your first practice, you're in the right place. In today's video, we are diving into one of the biggest challenges new practice owners face: hiring the right team. I'll be sharing the Dream Hiring Framework, a proven process to help you avoid costly hiring mistakes and build thriving high performance dental team. If you're serious about setting your practice up for long term success, stay until the end because I am going to be sharing a free resource that will also help you streamline your hiring and onboarding process. So let's get started. I want to teach you tonight how to avoid making costly hiring mistakes and building a thriving practice. I'm really excited because tonight I am going to speak about something that it's a very pressing issue in every dental office, especially when we are dealing with startups and first-time practice ownership, whether it's an acquisition or a startup. Being a first-time business owner does not come with a manual. And a lot of times putting a team together requires some skills that we have yet to develop. And along the way, without proven systems, without a proven framework or develop new skills, we tend to make mistakes that will cost us money and hurt our confidence in the process and have less enjoyment in the journey of practice ownership. So for those of you who are joining me tonight, it sounds like you really care about putting together a solid team because you are showing up and you're being here tonight, and you could be anywhere else. So I want to make sure that this is worth your time. And so it means that you're serious about taking ownership and setting yourself up for success, and avoiding these costly hiring mistakes that are ultimately going to either slow you down in the process or cost you a lot of issues along the way. So hiring, in my experience, without a plan, it's planning to fail. And a lot of times when we are leaving our associate jobs and we start the journey of practice ownership, whether again, it's a lot of times my acquisition doctors are experiencing the issue where they get to meet the team after the fact. And that is already an issue within itself. And our startup doctors, a lot of times we have a lot of hesitation of when is the right time for us to start looking for a team member and how is the right approach if I've never done this before. And so my goal tonight is to share with you some of the personal stories that I have been able to accomplish for my doctors, my clients, as their consultant, from observation and from personal experience. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself for those of you who are new to me and have not worked with me or known about me in the past. My name is Maritza Duran, and I am the founder of MDen Consulting Services. I started this company out of the need for me to gain independence, and after the fact that I worked for someone that was growing a lot and expanding. And I noticed that there was a lot of associate dentists and doctors that were doing this for the first time. And I had gained a lot of experience and exposure on how to open dental practices. And there was this one dentist in particular who was a young mom, just like myself, and was trying to look forward to starting her own practice, and gave me the opportunity to help her start her practice. And from there, I was able to gain a lot of more exposure, and the rest is history. I've helped over 500 dentists in some capacity launch and grow their first practices. And we've been doing that with a lot of our dentists across the country. I'm also adjunct faculty at Temple University, where I have been privileged to start teaching the four-year students on the practice management, practical experience in action course, which is taking them from the clinical aspect of their training and into the actual practical experience of being in a dental practice, all the administrative stuff. So that's something that I really am passionate about and I love. In addition to that, I'm a certified leadership coach, certified body language trainer. And as I mentioned earlier, all of this experience came from a entry-level position as a dental assistant that I was able to take an opportunity and turn it into wearing many hats in a dental office, from dental assistant to front desk to office manager to regional manager to launching my company and everything else in between. So needless to say, that I have had a lot of opportunities to hire and to fire, the not so nice term, in my 25 years in the dental industry. And so what I want to share with you guys tonight is one of the a 5-step process that I have put together based on accumulation of all of these experiences and what has worked for a lot of my clients and a lot of the dentists that I have the opportunity to work with or have a relationship with it in some capacity, and what hasn't worked, so that you can take this framework, this 5-step process, and do a self-assessment of where you are in your journey and start to put into practice some of the details that I'm going to be sharing with you here, so that you can improve and start on your and improve the capacity of you as a first-time business owner, turn things around and really enjoy this process. And make sure that your team, this is what the most important part for me is that when we decide to start a business, we're making a commitment to bring on board with us other people's dreams, to share our dream with other people. We want to serve our patients, we want to serve our clients. And the people that are going to be supporting us are going to be looking at our businesses as a vehicle in which they are going to be either in the passenger seat or in the back seat with us as we're driving to take them on to this destination. And a lot of times the destination, we're heading somewhere. It could be by default, or we can plug in the GPS and by design determine where it is that we're going, what steps and turns we need to take, and how we're going to get there, how soon do we anticipate to get there, and reverse engineering that process with our team so that we can make it more enjoyable for everyone, profitable and fulfilling. That's my mantra for my doctors. So why is it important for us to talk, and why are you here? You're here because practice ownership means that you have to, in addition to doing a lot of the clinical work and the service itself that you provide, now you have to manage people. You need to attract people, right? And the reason why most practice owners struggle, and I would love to take a moment here to do a little bit of a poll. I want to hear from you. And Dr. Naga, you did say something earlier before we went live about the struggles of hiring. I want to hear it in your words. What is it that you feel the reason why most first-time practice owners struggle with hiring? Tell me in the comments so that we can have a match and see if it goes in alignment with what I have seen and observed over the years. And I'll take a second to read the comments. So anyone wants to take a chance, let me know in the chat. Why do you guys think most startups struggle with hiring? Being a perfectionist, that's a good one. And I agree. A lot of times we want to think ahead and we want things to be done like we were do it. And I definitely understand and agree that that could be something that could hurt us. So being a perfectionist, yep. As an owner, I can care more than, and that's exactly right. So here are some of the reasons why I have seen from observation that new practice owners struggle with hiring. Number one, there's many reasons, and this is a perfect example of one, right? There's no right or wrong answer here, but not having a structured hiring process typically leads to bad hires and high turnover, right? That's one of the reasons. Another reason is that hiring based on urgency or instead of a strategy can lead to having a lot of settlement, if you will. And a third one, and I will expand a little bit more on that, is that if you don't have a strong onboarding and training process as a first-time practice owner, it's going to slow down your productivity and it's going to have a lot of retention issues. And I'm going to expand a little bit more on this. And the reason why I want to do this is because what I want to share with you is, if there's anything you can walk away with here, is number one, have a written system in place to be able to hire people and design it. Remember how we said you need to plug in the destination. So creating this process and putting it in place is going to help you reduce that. Let me tell you the story of this doctor. And if you see this picture here, you know that I wrote here, there's a study that is really interesting, that whenever you see a crime scene, they put a wallet on a street, but on that wallet with money, visible money, there's no blood, no nothing on surrounding it, but they put a yellow tape that said no, like a crime scene tape. And the studies show that 90% of the people that passed through there did not stop to take the money off from the wallet. There was absolutely no sign, no news, nothing from any crime that had been committed. It just had this little yellow sign. And a lot of times we basically, because either we don't have a structure, we're hiring based on urgency, or we don't train our staff properly, or don't have a lot of the alignment that I'm going to be sharing with you, we are unknowingly putting a yellow do not cross crime scene, yellow, do not cross sign across our front desk offices. And as Dr. Naga said earlier, our front desk people are, just generally speaking, they are an extension of us. So how do we get the people that are going to be an extension of our businesses to carry themselves like us and have the same vision that we have? We need to develop this process, these systems, in order for us to be able and create that alignment with them through doing a lot of the things that I'm going to do. So in this particular story that I want to share with you before I move on the reason why I'm so excited that you're here, because you're going to be learning some new things, is we learn from the good systems, but like what someone else has done that has made a negative impact in their practice is definitely also helpful, right? So this one dentist, the importance of not having systems in place, I was introduced to a few years back. And when I reached out to her and I said, hey, doctor, your friend is telling me that you're in the process of getting your office up and running. I was getting started as a consultant, independent consultant. I had 15, 16, over 20 practices under my belt. However, at this point, she was like, no, I have my friend that was my in-laws that helped me find this space. I reached out to the insurance companies and they sent me the application. So I took care of that. And I hired someone. I don't know, and I don't understand insurances. And so I hired someone to just watch the phones at the front. I come to the office, and the person was absolutely not a good fit. When I had a discussion with the doctor about, the business model and all of the things that are kind of like that intangible, right? I always use, and if you're used to coming to my webinars on the monthly basis, you notice that I talk about a lot about the alignment between the intangibles and the tangibles. And the intangibles is happening typically pre-opening. How you prepare for the launching is as important as when it's the time for you to start putting your ads out there, right? So simple things like having, your social media and your culture already visible for the public makes a difference when you're going through this process. And I'm going to share with you some of how that takes place in reality in the dental practices. So the most dentists struggle because, again, you didn't plan before the intangibles prior to it. You wait the last minute. And a lot of times you overspend on the build out, not having enough working capital. And you are just basically encouraged to hire someone at a minimum wage, or that it's underqualified, not creating alignment with your business model. And this is basically what happened with this practice. She wanted to work with someone that understood insurances better than her. but she wanted to be PPO and fee for service. The person was literally a heavy smoker with a lot of heavy smoker with missing premolars. And I said, you have a yellow crime line in front of you. We need to do something about this. So there were so many things that happened and took place that, it turned out not to be great. And I'll share a little bit more about that in a few. But the actual costs, right, based on the Department of Labor, a bad hire typically costs a business 30% of the employee's first salary. And for new dental practice owners, basically it's thousands in lost revenue, productivity, and patient trust. As a startup, if you're starting with your practice, imagine all of the time that it takes for people to learn your software, to go into the networking events with you, the photo shoots that take place in the initial stages of your, building your brand. For that person to come into your practice and not last and stay with you long term does not only cost you money, but it costs you a lot of the visibility and inconsistency in the marketplace, where the patients are losing trust in you as a leader. And it comes down a lot to your leadership skills. But then again, that it's also something that it is that you can develop. If you can learn how to drive a car or a bicycle, you can learn a new skill. And what I typically tell my doctors before I start jumping into the step-by-step process, the 5-step process or framework for developing and hiring and retaining your team members the right way, is the concept that I usually share with my doctors is take every aspect and milestone within your business, right? And apply the same concepts that we did when you were learning the clinical aspect of you getting your license. I get people telling me all the time, you should call, you should have your clients, you should call them by their first name. I refuse to call you guys by your first name, no matter how many more offices I've opened than you have. And it's because I have respect for all the education, all the effort that you've put into getting that license, maintaining that license, and the risk that you're taking to start a business, to serve the community, and to create job opportunities for people like myself, right? I used to work in a supermarket as a cashier when I got the opportunity to start scrubbing instruments in a dental office. And from there, I was able to continue to grow. And so I always tell my doctors, and I would love for you guys to also consider this. Take every milestone, including hiring and putting a team together. The same concept as learning the clinical skills. So this is the quote that I always use. Just like clinical skills, the success of practice ownership, right? Depends on developing new business and operational skills. Hiring your first team, putting a team together and growing your practice lies in aligning the intangibles, the things that you do before you meet that person, right? With the tangibles, the things that happened after and onward, right? When these elements are typically in harmony and you take strategic, actionable steps, you are able to create a strong foundation for long-term success. And the strong foundation is what I want to focus on, because a lot of people think about the tasks at hand for me to go from hiring to bringing the person on without looking into intangibles. Where are you coming from as a first-time practice owners, and what skills do you have and do you lack? So let's introduce you to the dream hiring framework, and let's have an overview, right? So I broke it down by the acronyms: the D, the R, the E, the A, and the M. 5 steps, okay? The D, we got to start with defining our vision, values, and mapping out our ideal team culture, right? The R is for recruitment. That's the second step. Once we were getting ready to recruit, we need to target the right candidates, but we need to attract top talent. How do we do that? And what skills do we need to develop? Because we cannot ask of something, of someone, a skill or an attribute that we don't possess. We cannot expect from someone something that we cannot give, right? We cannot give something we don't have. The E is for evaluating. How do we evaluate? And I usually like to use the 3 C's step process for once we're evaluating our candidates, and that it's, are they coachable, are they committed, and are they competent? This is how we're going to be able to determine if they are a good fit for our practice. The A stands for align. You have to align them and sort of like mold them into what you've already created in the past, the planning and all of the steps that you've taken leading up to this moment of that initial meeting that you're having with them, and training them, right, to fit your practice's vision. But without you having a clear vision, or without you having the vulnerability to say, this is where I am going and these are the steps that I've taken, but this may shift because we need to be flexible as first-time business owners until we understand the area. Because remember, we're not an established business and we have a lot more to adjust than just coming in with a preset of ideas that we may need to break down into, short term that leads to long-term goals and plans, and take it into bite-sized chunks because the process is pretty overwhelming. Lastly, the M stands for maintaining. It's not good enough for you just to come in, throw them into the battlefield, the phones start to ring, they have all of these tasks to do. How do you maintain that energy, that vibe, that enjoyment along the way? Because if it's a long ride and you're driving, you may fall asleep. They're going to fall asleep. If you all fall asleep along the way, or if you make a wrong turn and you run out of gas, guess what? You're not going to want to be in the same car driving into a destination together. If you're lost, if you run out of fuel, or if you fall asleep, you can crash and the rest is history, right? So it's very important that we take into consideration the framework, and we're going to break it down and have a more discussion. And I'm going to be sharing with you some of the steps that I do. So is everyone finding this helpful? Are you guys falling asleep on me now? Let me know in the chat. You guys are ready to go with how we're going to define our vision and game plan? Awesome. So the first step, define your vision and ideal team culture. And when I say define your vision and ideal team culture, I don't mean like I want to, like I want people to have this vibe and I want them to, have all of this energy and it cannot be something that is wishy-washy. Your vision and your ideal team culture is your non-negotiable. I have these qualities. I had a meeting earlier today with one of my clients, and I said, one of your very first homeworks, and this may seem redundant, but I want you to sit down. I usually have my doctors read this book. Where is my copy? I don't have it here, but Traction, that helps you map out your core values and your vision. So everything starts, as I said earlier, when you get behind the wheel, you know where you're going. You know your destination, and your destination could be in 10 years. I want to, retire. I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z. I want to sell. I want to expand, whatever that looks like. In 5 years, I want to add. In 3 years, I want to add my associate. In the first year, this is what I will love my people my business to be. And this is how you, or the person that comes into the picture with me, is going to, this is a roadmap for getting there, right? So first you create this vision for yourself and your ideal culture. What does an ideal culture look like? I will tell you one thing, and this is something that I've learned the hard way. Your core values have to be your non-negotiables. The core values for MDENT are transparency. What you see and what you see when you speak to me is the same person that is going to be behind the scenes. There is no one way or another way. Transparency for me is one of the core values. Um, I take a lot of results. I like results, and this is something that is non-negotiable. If you're hiring me to do a job for your practice, you know the job is going to get done and you're going to have results. If there's an issue that arises, first I try to find you the solution and the result before I tell you that there was an issue that it's taking place that we need to address. And so you want to be able to map out what are your non-negotiables. Who do you enjoy seeing and who do you not want to work with? Because we have people that may, and it's there, like the personality traits that are needed for you to be successful, right? I see this all the time. And I went into an office where we were waiting for someone to do a working interview. And the person came in, we were sitting for a training, and the person that was virtually doing the training on the software had some issues, and we ended up getting disconnected. The dentist at that moment just simply said something negative about the person that was conducting the interview. Like, I don't know what's wrong with this person or with this company, and so on and so forth. The person that was there for the working interview literally got up and walked out. She said, I need to check my phone. I'll be back. I'll call you guys later. My perception was this person, if they negatively speak about vendors and other people that are part of their process, and I am not understanding or learning something, I am not going to feel, I cannot trust someone that handles situations this way. And so finding out what your core values are and your non-negotiables and living through that and leading by example is going to be extremely important. You never want to speak negatively about anyone else because our employees are like a sponge. They're like our children, and we're programming them into how we want to behave. And so if you want them to behave a certain way and carry themselves a certain way, we are the first ones that need to possess those qualities or develop those qualities to then pass them on to them. I am going to give you on the worksheet, there are some questions there, and you're going to, when you download the worksheet, it's going to ask you, what are your core values? What are your non-negotiables? I wish I would have shared it with you at the beginning, but this is not a workshop. So you get it at the end. And then once my team sends you the recording, you can go back, replay it. And if you want over the weekend, you can sit down and do this, but this is going to be an exercise that is going to definitely transform the way that you do hiring in the future. Okay. So writing down your core values, it's part of the defining moment, putting that destination in place, the personality traits, and establish the must-have experience and skills. For my startup dentist, I usually say, and we struggle a lot with this, if you're putting in, like if you're looking for someone to help you with wearing all the hats, and I always say this, it takes a certain type of skill set to be able to last in a dental startup. I have seen, and again, I've been doing this for 20 years, more than 20 years. It doesn't matter how seasoned an office, there are certain individuals that when they need to be in a place where everything is set up and done for them. But what I've noticed with my startup doctors is it's like cooking in somebody else's kitchen. All the tools, all the appliances are new. We don't know. We need to put it together and we need to create something from scratch. Some of the little mistakes, and I see dentists do this, is overwhelming them with a lot of information up front and not having a system to drip it out and make it into bite-sized chunks, as I said before. But you need to define and establish the must-have experience and what you're willing to compromise, because they're coming in and they're giving up on the opportunity, depending on the level of experience that your specialty or your niche service requires. You're going to need to have some compromise, right? Like I have doctors that sometimes say, I need to hire someone, I want to sell big cases. And so we may need to hire someone that has better skills in communication with the patient for those private services that we want to do all on fours, whatever that looks like. But they may not be that strong on setting up our software and doing things or navigating that, because there is compromise, consensus. We need to learn how to have that balance, and not make it where they feel that because they are lacking in one area, that if it compensates in another area, that you take that into consideration. So you need to develop your job descriptions. This is where I'm coming. First, you define the job, your core values, the personality traits, the vibe that you want for your business, and then what experiences do they need to have, right? I can share with you samples of different worksheets and job descriptions as needed, but that's not as important. One thing that it is important is, I had a dentist recently who was hiring, and we went through the like through the screening process, which is a recorded version. I had my recording interview with a questionnaire and all of these things prepared. But during the second round of interviews, which is part of the framework and process for the hiring and onboarding, the doctor, when the front desk person, when the candidate asked, so what is going to be my responsibilities? She said, everything. It's going to be everything. So again, when I had the conversation with my client, I said, it's not everything. We have a job description that we have put together, and that's, and you're going to support us in a lot of the different to a lot of the aspects of, and I had already had this conversation. We're going to wear many hats. I've been in this position before. This is the difference between an established business and a startup practice. She understood it, but then my client, when she had her in-person meeting with the candidate, she said, you're going to be doing everything. We had a job description. We made the mistake of not presenting it to the employee. She might have hesitated, but we do have someone that it's also a great candidate with experience, qualified for the position, that is currently working in the practice. But those are some of those little things that we do. So the next step here is recruit. And I just told you a little bit behind the scenes of that. What I see my doctors do here is, the mindset is key when we're recruiting people. And what I want you guys to do is, I want you to hire like a CEO and not like a desperate or new business owner. And that's exactly what my doctor did. I'm new at this, so you're going to be doing everything. And when we are lost, or when we are confused, we lose. And we lose ourselves, and we lose the attention of others. Confident people that seem put together, even if you don't know what you're doing, if you have a piece of paper and you said, let me pull this up and see what it is that I have defined, or, for this process, if you show that you have resources, that you have systems in place, people are going to respect you more. So it doesn't matter that you knew. That's not an excuse. And I want to share with you a little story about how our mindset plays tricks with that. When we're a small business and it's our first hire, and we only need 2 people, a front desk person and a dental assistant. It doesn't matter the size of your business. You hire, you recruit like a CEO, okay? Not a new business owner. You need to shift the mindset from, I'm just a small business owner. I'm new. I don't know anything. I am going through the process of, dental insurances are new to me. I'm taking the steps into getting ready for that. And together we're going to figure these things out. Vulnerability is acceptable. Taking on the hat of I'm new, and you're going to, because you have experience and you've had one office that you've worked on before and you have experience, have leverage over me as the CEO, it's a no now. Okay. So that is something that I want to make sure you keep very clear. So these are the mistakes: not having written systems, and or having too much urgency. When are you ready to start? Can you come in tomorrow? I'm having lunch today at 2:00. Can you be here at that time? We're not desperate. We are looking to find the perfect candidate for an opportunity that I am developing as an experienced dentist who is now doing a startup. And I am defining a business model that may be different than what you have experienced in the past. And I want to get your input and your support to align it with my vision and my goals, and hopefully together we can drive into a destination that is going to be fulfilling and financially enjoyable and feasible for all of us. So the mistake is hiring without a plan. And I want to take you guys to this little sample instructions of the steps that I take when a client of mine is getting ready for doing the recruitment. So we follow the journey of the build out. We try to catch it early. Important that you start developing your branding and all of the things prior to the opening, because a lot of times I love it when I'm on a call with a candidate and I ask them, what research have you done about the practice or the dentist, right? And if you have your website being developed or you don't have your digital assets yet for your brand, that may be something that could potentially take you back a few steps, right? So what I want us to do is I want us to take a step further and say, okay, let's reverse engineer. Remember how we basically reverse engineer the roadmap? You need to go back from when is it that you're going to do your soft opening based on the timeline of your construction. When should recruitment start? You need to test the ads. You need to have all these different resources and places to do. You need to start recording. I mean, this is something different, but the recruitment strategy. First, you do the first round of interviews, which I typically recommend you do them virtually. There's a lot of nonverbal cues and things that you can pick up from someone when they're speaking with you in front of the camera, their ability to show up on time, to download the app. All of these little things are sending you cues about whether or not, and we'll talk about the 3 C's, how they are doing them. Doing the job boards, paid ads, right? Looking at the job salaries to be able to be competitive, right? And taking into consideration your break-even number, not what your attorneys or your builder or your equipment rep may say, because if you run out of all of your working capital getting nice equipment and whatnot, they're going to say, just get someone, like for, this is the going rate or some. If no matter how expensive and how beautiful your equipment is, right? Finding people to help you spend that $1 million, $800,000 on the build out, it's easy. Finding and putting the team together that is going to help your business thrive and pay back that money, it's where the fun begins. And it is your responsibility to put this team together. And without you taking into account the preparing yourself for this journey, you're going to make costly mistakes. But we're going to reverse that. We're going to change that, because now you have information that you didn't have before. You're investing in yourself by being here tonight, and I'm proud of you. So job salaries, the things and the positions, which is also something that my first time practice owners struggle with. The front desk position I usually recommend, since you want them to grow into the role of the manager and so on, you want to keep it where it is administrative front desk assistant, or you don't want to have the title of office manager prematurely. You want them to grow into that. So in your state, you may need to have expanded functions or some certification requirements for your dental assistant. You need 2 employees, 1 front desk, 1 dental assistant. And then you prepare your job ads and all of those other things. Let's go back to, so that's how you prepare. That's step number 2. And I want to be mindful of the time. Now we're going to talk about the evaluate. Step number 3 is to evaluate the candidates. And we're going to talk about the 3 C's. Are they coachable? Are they able to learn and adapt fast? Are they committed, right? Are they looking for long-term growth? And do they have the necessary skills? How are they skills? Let me see what I have here. I think I have here, and I'm going to be able to, let me see if I need to do this, but I have a video here of an interview that I did. Are you guys able to see this?
That's great. And Celine, it's a great community. So I've really narrowed the search and where I want to be. And so there's only one other dental office that's after me right now in Celine. And they remind me a lot of the last office that I was.
So, were you guys able to see this video that I just shared? Let me know in the chat. Okay, perfect. So this is an example, and I'm going to use this as a case study for the 3 C's. And something that really stood out to me that I'm going to share with you at the end from this candidate and her journey in her practice, so that we can all learn from that. So the process that I typically use after we've developed the job description, after you have defined your desired business model, your non-negotiables, your core values, what you stand for, job descriptions, all of those systems, the role, you've done some analysis on how you're going to position their salaries. I always tell my doctors, you want to use ranges, and it's negotiable. And you never want to, like, my best candidates are the ones that don't typically ask questions about what's the pay or what are the benefits and so on. And I do get it that a lot of you feel hesitant. I'm a first time employer myself as a small business owner. And a lot of times we are intimidated by when someone has a lot of experience and they may be asking for more than what we feel or think we can afford. And when payroll is coming and all these things, this is why it's so important to have all of these frameworks and proven systems in place to support you. And if you have any, need any help, by all means, you can always reach out to me and I'll be happy to have a discovery call and whatnot. But this is part of the process. This is the screening process. We need to evaluate are they able to learn and be fast? Are they committed? Do they want to see themselves in the practice, in the community, in the long term? Ashley, in this particular case, she said, I have a lot of experience, but there was no opportunities for me to evolve because the practice was already established. And I feel like I'm going to be stuck there by just being an extension of the team. I have ambitions of managing a practice. And this came in, and because we had already like presence in social media, we follow all the steps, we had a really thought out ad, we had organic approaches and visibility for the business. When we had the interview, she knew about the practice. I follow their page, I've seen them already. And so all these little minor details that you may, when you're doing this alone, feel like I am not there yet, I need to first tackle task A, B, and C before I tackle this. You can have things that are, that are cross, like just overlapping, and tackle one thing here and one thing there, just because it all becomes part of the bigger picture, right? Like when you have a puzzle, you don't go and put every image. You take one from here, if it makes sense, and you put it together until you are able to see the full picture. Does that make sense? So step number 3, we evaluate our candidate, do your screenings, do the process where first you have a conversation, you send them a link, you show up on the call, you record it, have a different person review them with you as well as a second round of interviews. Oh, I think I really enjoyed our conversation today. I have my husband, wife, or my consultant, or like another colleague, one of your friends, if you're not working with a consultant, someone to give you perspective on the candidate, so you can come back and reevaluate and say, do you think this person is coachable, committed, and something. Little cues and things that you see even as you're having the conversations with them will give you things. Oh, in my office I did this. And when you tell them, and have you experienced, oh, I was the one, that's not, so me, it doesn't sound like a coachable person when they know it all and they're telling you. So these cues and these things you have to do, be mindful. So step number 4, and we're almost there, guys, I promise we're almost there. Alignment. Align your new hire with a strong onboarding plan. Now we hired our front desk person, Ashley, and she came into the practice. The doctor and I had already gone over, hey, this is how many patients we need to see. This is, these are like, this is the reimbursement. This is how we're going to set up the software. This is your monthly checklist, your month 1 checklist. So you know exactly what needs to happen week by week. And on the daily basis, like this is your onboarding schedule plan. Meet and greet, your, a call with, with your software company, and going down the line. But you need to have a good written onboarding plan for your team. This needs to be a 30, 60, and 90-day training plan. Insurances, customer service, um, coordination of benefits, membership plan. How do we promote and sell our membership programs? All of these things need to be planned out and scheduled ideally for the team with setting clear expectations and responsibilities, making sure that through the onboarding process, a lot of times you don't need to have an employee manual. Most offices, trust me, I've seen mine after like 18 years working for the company, and just to sign it, I didn't even read it. And that's not to say I'm promoting for you to not to do that. It just helps their perception of you to be more collective. And we are drawn to people that seem confident and collective. We repel, we push away from, we don't like people that seem scattered and all over the place. So when they come to your office for the interview, or they show up and you're not showing, and you don't have, oh, I have a couple of, this is going to be a conversation and I want to be interactive because I want to get to know you, but there's certain things that are important for me that I'm just going to try to follow in a conversational setting. But just so you know, this is how we're going to structure this conversation today. They are already in their brains perceiving you as someone that is collected, that it's confident, that knows what you're doing. And that's exactly what I want you to do after this meeting. Okay. So the main things here is your structure, training plan. I have a 12-week training plan that I have my front desk, like students go through after we do the onboarding. And they have like tons of self-study materials. They have, one-on-one sessions with me, and we cover everything from the marketing to the interactions with the patients, through how to manage situations, the insurances, all of those things. But you want to be able to map it out. It makes them feel that you are invested in their ongoing, performance. Because if you are throwing them into the battlefield, you cannot expect them to have like, oh, let me go back now and do a corrective action or like a performance evaluation. What are you basing it on? Like, did you give them the clear expectations and responsibilities? Did they sign their job descriptions? Did they get the support they needed for fulfilling their job responsibilities? Did you provide them with regular feedback and coaching and support to be able to make sure that they are fulfilling on what their expectations are? Right? You're the leader, remember, and your mindset is everything. And don't judge them prematurely and start thinking that, hey, they're not going to work out if you are not working out and taking responsibility for your new role as a business owner, right? Okay, so step number 5, our last step here, is maintaining and developing them for the long-term success. And I think we just went over this, the training, skill building sessions. And this is not just for them, this is for us too. I'm currently taking training, going back to school for more coaching, because I always feel that there's always something new that I can learn and invest my time on improving my skills so that I can be a better consultant to my clients and a better employer to my team, right? So you first put the mask on yourself. So making sure that step number 5, you need to maintain and develop your team for long-term success. Regular trainings and skill building sessions, team recognition and performance incentives, very important. So as we're negotiating salaries and things like that, when we are, again, we may find someone that it's qualified, but it's over our budget or our perceived budget. So it pushes us to make that investment, because guess what? If you've hired a coach, or if you hired a consultant, or you paid for a really state-of-the-art, machinery, if you're unable to sell or like on your CEREC machine or your CBT scanner and things like that, how many more crowns or bridges or implants is it going to take for you to pay the cost of that equipment? And if you're investing, instead of seeing your employees as a cost, investing on someone that is going to learn, that has the skill, but is going to learn with you to make sure that you get to achieve the goals of paying your loans sooner and faster, and optimizing the use of all of the equipment and the investments that you've made to launch your practice, then why not, right? So team recognition and performance, very important in leadership development and career goal opportunities. Extremely, extremely possible. Like if someone is coming to your practice and saying, hey, my vision is to do X, Y, and Z, look into your business as like in milestones. If this person is going to set the standard for how I want my other people to come in and be in comparison to, you know, the candidates at the time that you're dealing with, if they're going to help you set the standard for your desired business model, and they check all of the boxes on your, you know, personality traits, skills, and all of that, then take it as an opportunity to invest that time on yourself and on them to develop new skills that maybe be a stepping stone into their next role. Dental school, hygiene school, whatever it is. I've seen this happen in the past where the person falls in love with the numbers and then they stay there and they try to get in, but they already feel that this is a vehicle that has a lot of opportunities and is going to fun places, and there's plenty of gas and stops and things that make it fun and make it profitable for everyone, right? So these are the things that you want to aim for. So step number 5, maintaining and developing your team for long-term success. Now, how do we implement the dream hiring framework? The define, the recruit, evaluate, align new hires, and maintain your team. It's a long process. It starts, I want to say, 6 months before you actually, I shouldn't say 6 months, it's a 6-month period, I should say, from the time that it's 3 months or 2 months prior to you hiring, right? I want to say 3 months prior to like your launch day, and then 3 months after and ongoing. It never stops, right? So very important that you have all of these systems in place. Now, let me share with you guys the worksheet. I'm going to take this copy and I'm going to put it in the chat. Let me see if it works. Oh, no. So I thought I was going to be able to do it here. So how do I'm going to try this and you guys let me know if it works. I'm going to put it in the chat. If not, I promise I'll have someone from my team just download it, make a copy of it. And this is your worksheet. So let's go over it. Your dream hiring framework worksheet. What I want you to do is define your vision and ideal team culture. Write down 3 or 5 core values that define the culture of your practice. What are your non-negotiables? What do you stand for? I want you to define your ideal team member, must-have qualities, preferred experience, and things to avoid. They ask about money. They say things, and whatever that is, it's going to help you prepare for that. Recruit like a CEO, shift that mindset. Make sure you have, you know, like you strategically have visibility on your brand before you actually start the recruitment process, so that if your website is not developed, but at least you have a landing page. Those are cues that typically for me sound like music to my ears. One of my best hires that has been in the practice for over 15 years. And now I get associates reaching out to me and saying, you're a legend there. Is someone that when I did the interview for her like 18 years ago, I asked and she said, I saw you on a video for the, you know, for like something that had been done on the website. And she's like, I read about the doctor. I read, like, she was so diligent about the investment that she was making of her time as to where she was going to be working, that it stood out to me and I loved it. So she's still in that position, right? And that's kind of what you want, but it starts with you. So a lot of things here. This is your toolkit or your worksheet. I shared it. Let me know in the comments if you're able to see it. Let me see on the chat. Not working. Oopsie. So Shayla, would you be able to get it out to everyone that is that it's on the call with us right now? So someone from my team, doctor, is going to share it with you. Here is Ashley, and this is where I want us to end tonight's webinar. One of the things she told me after, like, during kind of like one of our last meetings after she had been in the office past the 90 days and we were all there, I had a conversation with her and she said, Maritza, can I tell you something? And I said, sure. She said, I would have not taken this position if you weren't working with the doctor. I was so skeptical about working for a startup because I did not know if she was going to be able to make it. I knew that she was new to being a business owner, and I was just afraid. I was offered a position with benefits at a larger practice, and what sold me was that I know that I can grow into the manager role that that I cannot get at that other location. And you made it possible for us to hit that first milestone of breaking even. So the doctor can sleep at night saying that we've produced enough to cover costs. And this all happened within 3-4 months of them opening their practice. I have clients that are I mean, not my clients, but I speak with doctors all the time that reach out to me and they're like, we're 2 years in and I still haven't been able to break even. I have so much turnover, it's so much work and so on and so forth. But Ashley told me I would have not taken the position if the doctor wasn't working with you, because there were checklists, there were, a lot of systems in place that made me feel at ease and confident about this new task. And I'm glad that, that I did it, because she's now in the vehicle heading in the direction that she wants. And she brought in, because she had managerial experience working someplace else, but was capped at her growth, and she's being able to align that with the doctor's vision and goals for her practice. So it was a win-win for everyone, and that's the kind of case studies that I love to share. Now, in contrast, you see me here in the middle and I look a lot better then and I'm all excited. But this is a doctor that I was telling you earlier that I reached out to earlier when she took over her practice. She was already a year into her practice. And actually, I reached out to her because she was referred to me by her friend. And her friend said, she basically said, I'm okay. I'm figuring it out. This is the dental office that had like the yellow tape across the front. And this is not the first person. The other person actually was no longer in the office by the time, like when I started helping her. But all of the different, mistakes and oversights led to her having to shut down during, like struggle a lot in her like third year during the COVID years. And those are one of those, stories that I hate to share with people, because all of us begin with a lot of energy and a lot of faith, and we have, our kids, our spouses, like so many people are putting their trust in us, and we have such a big responsibility. And when we fail not just for ourselves, but those around us, those patients that could have gotten the treatment that they wanted or needed from us, the team members that entrusted us in leaving a position or giving us the opportunity to hit the ground running with us. And because we don't plan accordingly, we fail to plan. We basically are unable to live up to the dream of practice ownership and making it fulfilling for everyone else. So thank you so much for your time tonight. I would love for those of you who are on the webinar live with me to drop on the chat your biggest hiring or team building aha moment from this time with us, or any questions that you have that you want me to cover if you have the time still on the chat. So I'll do some final Q&A. So Amy, there's no link. So I would say that since you guys register, we have your email addresses. So what we'll do is we'll share the PDF version with you instead of the link. We'll get that out to you tomorrow morning, I promise. So what if we don't find the perfect hire? What if we don't find the perfect hire? What would you do? Define perfect. I mean, are they coachable? Can they learn a new skill? Are they committed? Do you see that they're interested in learning and staying long term, like at least in the industry? And are they competent? Can they do the job? Are they able to manage reaching out to the insurance companies or having the conversation with the patient? If they are able to meet those three criterias, right, as far as the tasks, and they have a good personality, that's a win-win, that they're done on their end. Then the question becomes, what do you bring to the table? What skills do you have or don't you have, so that you can make the alignment work and you can have it done in harmony. One thing that I would love for you guys to consider, and this is something that I recommend to my doctors, this is something that I did myself. You know how there are like discs assessment and all of these other things. I've done the disc, but one thing that helped me a lot for myself, and I recommend it to my doctors, is to do the Colby assessment. It's kind of like it's it helps you understand. Let me write it down on here. Colby, Colby, Colby assessment. And one thing that I learned from that is that we all have ways that we function. And the best way that Dr. Phillips, who's now my mentor, describes it is, you know, there are some cars that are sports cars, and there are cars that are SUVs, and there are trucks. So you need to figure out what type of vehicle are you, right? Because if you put a, you know, like a Ferrari into a mountain, it's going to struggle. And if you put it on a straight line, it's going to thrive. It's going to go at its full capacity. So this kind of assessment almost gives you an understanding, and this is kind of like a separate thing, but if it helps you now that we're in the Q&A, you need to know what kind of car you are and what is your best setting for, you know, like the areas that you thrive in and the things that you're not so that you don't enjoy as much. You want to create alignment or balance, right? Like dynamics within the business, but through those dynamics also comes the issue of, you know, we're not going to see eye to eye in certain things because we are opposite, right, on that particular area that we're being assessed on. And so you just need to learn how to work with that other individual. So it's kind of like a dance, right? Like once you get the rhythm, you find out, okay, this person, it's not so stiff when I turn them this way versus that way. And it's a dance. And I think that did someone say not stupid nor stubborn? Those are things that you really, I should say, do the self-assessment, determine who you are and what you bring to the table, and then go out there to try to find someone that could be a good match for you. So I have here Priscilla. The goal is to do the hiring like a CEO and catch the red flags before hiring. But how do I approach firing a staff once you gave them an opportunity, but they're going to harm more the team? What do you consider its legal reasonable reasons to fire someone? So that's a really good question. And I was hired to do a job for a large institution. And the dean told me, Maritza, I'm not attached to anyone. So if you feel that someone needs to be let go of from that department once you do your assessment, let me know. I'm not attached to anyone. And I said, well, what and accountability efforts have been taking place from these individuals, and the training to be able to present to them, these are your responsibilities, these are the resources we're going to put at your disposal in the training to support you in fulfilling your role, to then basically monitor and check on your performance to make sure that you're a good match and this role is right for you. And he said, well, we've never had a program for learning or training or anything like that. And I said, so you cannot just expect to throw people into the battlefield and then judge them on their performance when they haven't been given a processes and support to fulfill that task and then monitor their performance. The way that I manage performance, and I'm going through this with one of my startup clients, is not perfection. It's success at the beginning of your startup. It's on the harmony, which is important. Are the patients happy? Are the coworkers happy? Is everyone happy to come from work and enjoying each other? And are we making progress? Progress is the equivalent of success. Are we getting closer to reaching our first target, which is to break even? So your question, Doc, is how do, like, if they're harming the other team, I'm going to share with you what I did personally one time, because I did have an employee. She was a great dental assistant, and but she was always banging on the, the cabinets, and always, like, she was a very disruptive personality. She was a lot taller than me, like she was intimidating also. But so one of the things that I realized about this particular individual is that she was better, like she just loved to talk a lot. So what I did was I had a conversation with her, and I said, listen, I really think that we should, well, this is what I did after a lot of processes and written things that she refused to sign and write it down. I didn't actually fire her, right? So what I did is I offered her to do another task that she was enjoying more, cutting her hours to give her the opportunity to find someone. And I told her, the right thing for me to do, and depends on the timeline of how they've been working together. So maybe you should schedule like a one-on-one session with me to go over the specifics. But you hire slow and you fire fast. The first time you start thinking about this employee is not working out, if you're within that first 90 days, start giving them the tasks and writing and monitoring, like, hey, on such and such day, I asked you to do X, Y, and Z. How is that coming along? Well, the patient or the insurance or this wasn't something that was paid, or whatever the negative outcome was, and you use that as the foundation for saying you've been trained on how to do this right, and you seem not to be able to perform the requirements of the job. So your performance is not there. You have been given the training, you have been giving the tools and the resources, and you're not meeting the standards. So here's how we're going to fix it, and we're going to give ourselves 2 weeks or a month. Now, depending on their attitude, they may have, like have other issues. If you need a template, let me know in the comments if you have like templates of corrective actions. But I don't want you to start implementing systems of corrective actions without you first checking the boxes of the other things. So then you fire without a substitute. The moment you start thinking about getting someone out the door, you need to have a backup. And that is why all of the people that I go through interviews with, I always ended on a good note. Listen, right now, because X, Y, and Z, there's another person that was a better, fit for the office at this time. Any, like in the future or whatever else, I want them to even like our page, to follow the office, not to feel like they have been rejected, but that there is a better opportunity for them out there than this one right now. So it's a win-win for them and for us, even if it's not working out. So it's kind of like the people management of the relationship that is going to bring about the not have it where it ends in bad terms. It's almost like your negotiation skills. And negotiation skills is not necessarily all about money. It could be on psychology, right? Like you can just basically influence someone onto making a decision that I think it's theirs, but it's actually yours. You're just presenting it to them in a way that they're like, oh, I didn't think of it or didn't see it, and supporting them in their transitions so it's amicable and not doing things. But if you're having a disruptive employee that it's hurting somebody else or verbally or something, you want to have your protective measures of corrective action. If they don't sign it, you have the other person say it, because at some point they will leave, call out sick or something, or you may need to tell them not to come back to work, and continue to start looking for someone somewhere else. You fire without a substitute. I will tell you this, Doc, since you asked this question, I used to be the one that would forward the lines, like put a answering message and leave the front to go to the back to run the autoclave, to bring in the patients, to do the things. When I would send like this harmful employee, I sent home a couple of times before firing them. And I just took over and I said, like, take the day off. You're slamming all the cabinets here in the back. It's very disrupted. You're making us nervous. Just take the day off. Like, you're not that indispensable in the business. We can figure it out. So this is where the cross training and all of these things and everyone in harmony saying, I think that this will be the best move today. Is everyone on board that I'm just going to tell this employee she's, disrupting everyone? Can you handle this and I'll handle that? And this is how we will manage it, isolate, whatever it is. But if the employee is disruptive during the workday, just send them home and have a backup plan, which is we wear a little more hats to make sure that things are moving along. Any other questions? Because I think we want to wrap up. I want to be respectful for everyone. Thank you, Dr. Brittany. I had Dr. Marita. I actually went live on my Facebook group just because. So everyone, good night there. And here on the webinar, thank you for those of you who stayed with me until the end. Let's grow together and make sure that we are building profitable and fulfilling practices. Thank you so much again for your time tonight. If you have any questions or anything, you know where to find me. Schedule a time with me, and or I will see you guys around. Have a good night. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll stay in touch. Well, I hope you found this session valuable. Hiring and building the right team is one of the most important steps in creating a successful practice. If you're ready to implement these strategies, make sure you grab your free team training toolkit. The links are in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss any future insights on practice, lounge, and growth. Comment below and let me know what was your biggest hiring challenge. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.